today regarding Semi Bird, I believe. And staff that's going to present is?
Good afternoon. I'm Alice Feitman presenting for staff on PDC case 155443.
Okay, Alice, I'll start by swearing you in. Do you swear under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is true?
I do.
Thank you. Please proceed.
PDC staff alleges that Semi Bird, a candidate for governor in 2024 of the state of Washington, violated RCW 4217A320 for failure to provide party preference and sponsor identification on political advertising for election year 2024. And I understand you have the memo that I prepared in front of you.
You're muted, Jay, if you don't care, but you're muted.
Okay, all right, I have it. I've read it.
I have it.
Okay, so I'll briefly go through some background, but I am aware you have the memo, so you can read this information also. So in November of 2022, Semi Bird filed with the Public Disclosure Commission as a candidate for governor, marking party preference as Republican. Semi Bird amended the report a couple of times. However, in each time, all party preference was marked as Republican. The last update was March 18th, 2024. Again, party preference was marked as Republican. In February of 2024, Semi Bird was issued a formal written warning from the Public Disclosure Commission in the case that you have in front of you, 145404, for failing to include party preference on political advertising sponsored by the campaign. In May of 2024, PDC staff received a signed statement of understanding where Bird acknowledged a violation of RCW 4217A320 by failing to include a party preference on political advertising. In June of 2021, PDC staff received a complaint alleging Semi Bird failed to include party preference on political advertising. And in June of 2024, PDC staff also received a complaint from a different complainant alleging Semi Bird failed to include party preference on political advertising. And the Bird campaign received and responded to both complaints. They knew they were available to review. And basically in the complaints, the one where this alleged violation came from, there was an interview that was done by the Spokane Republicans that was posted on Semi Bird's YouTube page. And when I spoke to the campaign, they acknowledged that the video was posted on the YouTube page, but the video was not produced by the campaign. And so the allegation was it didn't need party preference. So, however, in review of the complaint, staff noticed that there was no party preference on the campaign's YouTube page, and then went and reviewed the campaign's other social media channels, which they maintained active social media channels on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, and on Twitter, just the ones that we could find. And in all of those, except for Facebook, there was no party preference noted on those sites. So RCW 4217A requires all written political advertising, whether relating to candidates or ballot propositions, shall include the sponsor's name and address. And for a partisan office, if a candidate has expressed a party preference or independent preference on the declaration of candidacy, that party or independent designation shall be clearly identified in electioneering communications, independent expenditures, or political advertising. And as of the aggravating and mitigating factors, Semi Bird, as I noted, was issued a violation for 4217A320, and then also acknowledged a violation of RCW 4217A320 and was issued a statement of understanding. However, a mitigating factor also is Semi Bird did not advance to the 2024 general election. So staff recommends that the commission find Semi Bird violated 4217A320 and assess Semi Bird a civil penalty per WAC 390.37.143 to be made payable within 30 days of the date of an order, and the base penalty range for this fact pattern of a third violation is $600. Do you have any questions?
No.
No.
So,
And I understand SME Bird is available if Jordan, at that time, if Jordan would.
want to make Femi Bird available, Jordan?
Yeah, he should be able to unmute himself and turn on his camera if he wishes.
Hello, Mr. Bird?
Sorry,
Yeah, I understand. It's been a
I'm
crazy day
trying
of
to
equipment.
just.
We can hear you, but we can't see you.
Okay, I'm working it. Thank you. I don't use Teams much. Can you hear me and see me?
I think we've got you now. Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
Mr. Bird,
I won't
Mr.
keep you,
Bird,
folks, and thank you for your time and effort and all of you being here. Oh my goodness.
before you
Boy,
begin, if I could
Wyman.
just ask that you, if assuming you're going to provide testimony, do you swear that the testimony you're about to give under penalty of perjury is the truth?
100% yes, I so solemnly swear.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Thank you very much. Ms. Feynman presented quite a case. I would say, if I was listening to that, I am guilty and guilty and guilty and guilty. And wow, I had no idea. All of my social media, I assumed my team had R, and I was on the YouTube channel many times, and I could have swore I saw Republican. And so I don't know what I had been missing as a candidate that I did not see Republican and all that. And so having served, there's no excuses. And as she had said, I want to say, thank goodness, apparently, there is no more dartboard here. The campaign is over. But yet we were going back to 2022 and more allegations from the same person who's filed numerous allegations against me. This is more weaponization of the PDC and taking your time. So again, guilty, but apparently, and I had no idea or understanding. So I think it sounds like I'm getting off easy of this, whatever happened. And so I had no idea. So with that being said, thank you for your time. Thank you for all that you do. I'm sorry that you're having to sit for this. And please accept my apologies for not being more aware. And I wish you all the best and blessings to every one of you. And take care. So thank you for the time.
Thank you
after
for
30 days, I will send a check for $600. And well done, Ms. Feynman. You presented quite a case.
you. Thank you very much. And before you write out the check, let's just see what we decide that we're going to do. It may not be 600. Could be more or less, but I think less. But anyway, Jay, did you
If I
have any
may
questions?
say, my friends, and thank you for saying that, sir. We have no campaign money. I left, so this will come out of my family's account, if I may. Again, no excuses. I had no idea that our team, and we had a team, that we were not putting R, because the gentleman who filed this complaint has filed multiple complaints against us, targeting myself. And this is a Republican who is targeting myself as a Republican. That's just, I guess, politics. So
Okay.
I do plea, if I may, that you guys are lenient. And that, now I will
Okay.
close it off. Thank you.
Thank you. Jay, do you have any questions?
Well, I think that this is an easy thing to overlook when you're a candidate running the kind of campaign that was in the gubernatorial primary. And I think that if we impose the $600, we ought to suspend a very substantial part of it upon the balance being paid.
I agree. And tell you what, we're going to fine you the 600, the staff said, but we're going to suspend 500 of it. So if you would please send a check for $100, we'll be good.
Wow.
And thank you very much.
Thank you all. Thank you for your kindness, and God bless.
Okay,
Could
thank
I
you.
add before you
Sure.
leave? I want to make sure I have the correct contact information for you because we will be sending the order electronically and you will have the opportunity to pay electronically if you choose. And so we want to make sure that the information gets to the right place and you get it. And then, so then, like you said, wait until you hear from us before you do that.
Yes, missypachi@frontier.com, and I will pay that upon receipt within 30 minutes or less.
Okay, thank you. I do have that. I do have that email.
Thank you very much.
Blessings
Thank
to
you.
all of you. Thank you very much for your kindness.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, next case, Jordan, or whoever. Jordan or whomever, our next case.
Let me see
And
who's
then-
next chronologically. I'm saying
Jordan
Tanya.
cut out.
I was just gonna look and see who's next on the agenda that's posted online. Looks like next is gonna be. Oh, okay. So Tanya would be next. Tanya's case.
Okay. So, Tanya, do you swear under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give in this case is the truth?
I do.
Are you muted?
I am not. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Do you swear that it will be the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Go ahead and proceed.
I am Tanya Mercer, Compliance Officer with the PDC, and I am here to present case 155613 against Leon A. Lawson. In this case, PDC staff alleges that Leon A. Lawson violated RCW 4217A 235 and 240 for failure to timely and accurately file C4 reports for election year 2024. Mr. Lawson was a candidate in election year 2024 for the Office of Governor for Washington State. He filed a candidate registration with the PDC for the full reporting option, and he did appear on the 2024 primary election ballot. Under the full reporting requirement, Mr. Lawson, at a minimum, was required to file a 21-day C4, a 7-day C4, and a post-primary election C4. Mr. Lawson was also required to file a May C4 because he paid a filing fee of $1,982.57, which exceeded the $750 threshold for when a report is required to be filed. Between July 15, 2024 and September 11, 2024, PDC staff sent 8 email communications reminding Mr. Lawson that the 21-day, 7-day, and post-election reports were either due or missing. On June 11, 2024, the PDC received the first of 4 complaints against Mr. Lawson for missing reports. The respondent was notified about each complaint but never responded. On July 23, 2024, PDC staff emailed an initial hearing notice, and on July 29, 2024, the PDC conducted an initial hearing. The respondent did not attend the hearing. Then on September 10, 2024, PDC staff emailed a brief enforcement hearing notice alleging the aforementioned violations, and the hearing notice was also sent to the respondent's email of record. On September 20, 2024, PDC staff mailed the brief enforcement hearing notice and the enforcement hearing memorandum to the respondent's mailing address of record. As of today, the respondent has not filed the required C4 reports covering the 2024 primary election. We have not heard from Mr. Lawson in response to the complaints or the hearing notice. Mr. Lawson does not have any past violations of RCW 4217A 235 and 240, but he does have a prior violation for failure to file the Personal Financial Affairs Statement, the F1. This violation occurred early in 2024 when the candidate failed to file an F1 for the preceding 12 months, which was due and filed within 2 weeks of his candidacy and no later than May 24, 2024. At the July 11, 2024 adjudicative proceeding, Mr. Lawson was found in violation of RCW 4217A 700 and assessed a $150 civil penalty. The F1 was filed after the hearing notice, but before the enforcement hearing. The civil penalty has not been paid and has not yet been sent to collections. Staff recommends the presiding officer find that the respondent violated 4217A 235 and 240 by failing to timely file the following C4 reports. The C4 report covering May by the deadline of June 10, 2024, the 21-day C4 report that was due by July 16, 2024, and the 7-day C4 report that was due by July 30th, 2024, and the post-election C4 report that was due by September 10, 2024. Also, assess the respondent a civil penalty for a first violation where the reports were not filed before the date of the hearing, per WAC 390-3743, to be made payable within 30 days of the date of the order. The base penalty range for this fact pattern is $150, and also require that Leon A. Lawson file all required C4 reports for the 2024 primary election within 30 days of the date of the order. Thank you.
Okay, Jay, do you have any questions?
No, I don't. I think this is pretty straightforward.
I do too. Now, did I understand that the respondent's not available?
That's correct. He did not indicate he would be attending today.
Okay. So you mentioned $150. That's the recommendation per report not filed?
We are calling this a first offense. So combining all of the reports not filed into one offense, but it is at your judgment if you choose to break that out.
I'm going to choose to say that we're going to fine him $600 and suspend $300 of it if he has those 4 reports, the May, the 21-day, the 7, and the post-election filed within 30 days of receiving this, and any other contingencies that might be related to this.
And just to clarify, is the suspension also contingent on him paying $300 of that penalty?
Yeah. He has to pay the $300 within that.
Thank you.
All right, looks like we are on to our third and final, which would be Matt McCauley, which is being presented by Tabitha Blacksmith.
Okay. Hi, Tabitha.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Do you swear that the testimony that you're about to give under penalty of perjury is the truth?
I so swear.
Thank you very much. Proceed.
Thank you. So the case before us today is for Matthew McCauley. That's PDC case number 158260. PDC staff is alleging that Matthew McCauley, a 2024 candidate for state representative of Legislative District 37 House, violated RCW 4217A 235 and 240 by failing to timely and accurately file C3 reports and C4 reports disclosing contributions and expenditures undertaken by his campaign for election year 2024 and allow public inspection of his candidate books of account. Mr. McCauley did provide written participation materials today. I don't expect him to attend today's hearing, but he did provide the written materials. Did you receive a copy of that, commissioners?
I did.
I did and read it.
Oh, okay, good, thank you. So the respondent has not filed, as of today, he has not filed the required candidate registration or C1 report, and that is a matter for a prior case, PDC case 155486. Pursuant to RCW 4217A 235 and 240, a candidate is required to report contributions and expenditures to the PDC on C3 and C4 reports, and the due dates for the reports are based on the election cycle, the candidate committee's election participation, and their financial activity. A candidate who selects the mini reporting option on their C1 report is relieved of the requirement to submit C3 and C4 reports. However, as is in this case, if a candidate has not registered with the PDC by filing a C1 report, their campaign defaults to the full reporting option, so those reports become due. And the Elections Division records do indicate that the respondent paid a candidate filing fee of $601.91 by credit card on May 10th of 2024, and so that would be reportable activity. The respondent did reach out to PDC staff by email on May 21st of 2024 and indicated he was withdrawing from the 2024 general election due to health reasons. PDC staff informed him at that time that he would need to complete and return a formal statement of termination of campaign form to the PDC by June 30th of this year, and that would relieve him of the candidate reporting requirements. However, the PDC did not receive the requested statement by the deadline. And you'll see that's Exhibit 2 in your packet, Commissioners. Then on July 11th of 2024, the respondent emailed PDC staff again and indicated he withdrew from the 2024 election shortly after declaring his candidacy due to ill health. He said his only expenditure was the candidate filing fee, which he paid for using his own funds. The respondent stated he had not been campaigning or acting as a candidate. We did remind the respondent of the missed June 30 deadline to submit a termination statement for his campaign. And he also had a brief enforcement hearing scheduled for later that day concerning his C1 and his F1 reports. Staff asked him if he planned to attend that hearing, and he declined, again, due to his health, and that's Exhibit 3. As a 2024 candidate participating in the August 6, 2024 primary election, the respondent was required to file the following reports: a 21-day pre-primary C4 report that was due July 16th, a 7-day pre-primary C4 report that was due July 30th of this year, and a post-primary C4 report that was due September 10th of 2024. And also, if he had any monetary contributions, he would have been required to file weekly C3 reports starting June 3rd of this year. On August 16th of 2024, PDC staff opened a case for the respondent based on 3 complaints that were filed by Connor Edwards, wherein he alleged that the respondent failed to file the required 21-day and 7-day pre-primary C4 reports, and also failed to allow him to inspect the campaign's books of account. And that complaint is Exhibit 4 in your packet. Mr. Edwards emailed the respondent on August 1st of 2024, 5 days before the primary election, and asked to digitally inspect his campaign books of account on August 1st of 2024. The email was sent to the personal email address of record that the respondent supplied to the Elections Division. And Connor Edwards filed a complaint on August 8th of 2024 indicating that the candidate failed to allow for the inspection. And that is Exhibit 4 also. PDC staff sent emails to the respondent at multiple email addresses on August 16th, September 12th, and September 17th of this year, encouraging him to file the missing reports. All 3 messages were sent to the personal email address the respondent supplied to the Elections Division for his candidacy, and 2 messages were also sent to alternate email addresses. Then on September 23rd of 2024, we served the respondent by email and mail with a hearing notice for today's brief adjudicative proceeding concerning his failure to file the required 21-day and 7-day pre-primary and post-primary C4 reports and allow for a campaign books of account inspection. Let's see here. Staff tried to reach the respondent by telephone on September 24th of this year and left a voicemail message requesting a return call. As of today, the respondent has not filed any of the pre-election and post-election C4 reports that were due in July and September of this year. As a candidate who advancing to the November 5th, 2024 general election, the respondent will also be required to file some additional reports. There's a 21-day pre-general, a 7-day pre-general, and a post-general C4 report that would be due in the future. There are some mitigating and aggravating factors. You have a copy of the letter from the respondent indicating that he did not campaign. He said the only money he spent was for his candidate filing fee. He hasn't collected any money. He indicated that he really hasn't done any campaigning. And at the end of his statement, he says he spent several $100s of his own savings to register with King County Elections. Then he got sick and withdrew from consideration. And he said, if you wish to find me for ill health and bad luck, that seems harsh, as simply speaking, I was never a candidate for office. Let's see here. Mitigating and aggravating factors include that the respondent appears to be a first-time candidate. He wishes to withdraw from candidacy due to his health reasons. He said he made one relatively modest expenditure for the candidate filing fee, and the campaign itself appears to be relatively small and unsophisticated. Aggravating factors include that the C4 reports that were due for pre-primary reports did deprive the public of timely information during a time-sensitive period in the election cycle. And the respondent does have one unresolved prior violation of a different statute. It's 205 and 700, and that was for the C1 and the F1 report. As a candidate, you have all of those requirements once you indicate your candidacy with the Elections Division, if you don't terminate by June 30th, and the respondent did not do that. If the presiding officer finds the respondent violated 235 and 240 today, it will constitute his first occasion of a violation of 235 and 240. And I did provide a link to the penalty schedule, which states that the base penalty for failure to file the C4 report is $150. I don't know if the respondent, it doesn't sound like he owed a C3 report. If he used his own money to pay the candidate filing fee, that would be an in-kind contribution and would go on a C4. So it doesn't appear that the C3 requirements would apply to Mr. McCallie. So that is my recommendation, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you. I think you answered part of what the question I was going to ask, and that is, had he filed by the end of June 30th with you that he's not campaigning, that would have purged the F1 and C1 problem? He wouldn't have been a candidate?
Well, the requirement is still on the books, but we allow for, basically they're relieved of the filing requirements. If they agree to terminate, they have to sign a form acknowledging that they won't campaign, they won't accept the position if they win the election. And so they're basically, and I believe I provided a copy of that, but if they fill all that out and send it back timely, then we can relieve them. We won't pursue, perhaps I should put it that way, we wouldn't pursue the filing requirements in that case.
That was what wasn't clear to me. It looked to me like one thing in the law you could, but you're saying that we don't. If you withdraw.
If he withdrew.
Now he is currently though on the general election ballot, correct?
Yes, the window for getting off the ballot is very, very short. You have a week to declare as a candidate, and that same week you would have to terminate. And so it's a very, very small window.
Yeah.
And so candidates sometimes find that they later on that they want to withdraw and there's no way to get off the ballot. So that form helps the PDC from an administrative standpoint to determine who owes reports and things like that.
Another question for you though, had he, if he signed now, let's say that statement, if we gave him an extension on the June 30th, and he agreed that he would not serve if elected, but he somehow was elected, do we think we have any ability to keep him from serving?
Well, the form that you fill out to terminate candidacy says that you agree not to accept the position if you win the election. If he did, then we would take steps then to pursue all the missing reports. So there is a process for that.
Okay. Jay, do you have any questions?
No, it sounds like a rookie got into something way over his head and didn't know how to get out.
Yeah, that's what I think too. And I'm sympathetic to, he got sick and he couldn't run. I'm inclined to wonder about saying that, finding that he's violated, he clearly has, and giving him a fine, but maybe giving him partially an out. And that would be that we would fine him. Well, that's what we're looking at here. I guess we would fine him $600, but I would suspend all but 100 of that if he would somehow could extend the June 30th deadline to him, so that if he can within the next 15 days before the election give us that form that says I'm no longer a candidate and I agree that I won't serve if I'm elected.
Okay, so let me see if I understand.
So that means basically, if he did win and tried to serve, then that would kick in the $600.
Do you want me to put that in the order that way?
I would add one other thing. If he did win and elected to serve, that he file all of the reports
Oh, yeah.
that we wouldn't otherwise require him to file.
Yeah, I don't think that'll be a factor, but I'm trying to give him a break. I'm believing that he was sick, and that's probably why he missed the June deadline. But on the other hand, he did violate and should pay a penalty, just not as much if he'll give us the, I'm sorry, I missed the deadline. Here's a late filing, and get out of it.
Just for the record, let me get that form. It's one of the exhibits here. If I provided you with a copy of the statement of termination. So what it says is, let's see. I understand the PDC will not conduct enforcement for my failure to file reports required by 4217A if I do not campaign for my election, do not solicit or accept campaign contributions, do not make campaign expenditures, including personal funds, and do not accept the office if elected. And if I engage in any of these activities, including campaigning, soliciting or accepting contributions, making expenditures, or accepting the office if elected, the PDC will conduct enforcement for failure to file reports as required by RCW 4217A. And then it talks about the commission's authority to assess penalties. So if you'd like, I can put that in the order as well, so it's very clear.
The one thing, though, is obviously, and I'm sure it was intended, that he did pay the filing fee, and he's already acknowledged that. So I wouldn't want to burn him because that's an expenditure he made, and in that thing it says he won't make any.
Oh,
it's obviously a contribution and expenditure in kind.
No,
yeah,
no future expenses.
no future.
Right.
I think it was prospective. So, okay, and then he needs to file that within 15 days and before the general election.
Before the general election, yes.
You want any of the 4-year, the language, no further vielations for 4
I
years?
don't think so.
Okay.
I'm betting this guy never goes near a filing fee again.
Right.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. Do you have any more questions for me?
I don't
think so. I think it's kind of a different way of solving it. But like I say, I really feel for him. I believe that, like you say, he's extremely inexperienced. He got sick, and we're not trying to do too much to him. But if he wins, we expect all the information we're entitled to.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So
All right.
Any further business?
That's the end of our cases. Now we're going to move on to the public comment section.
Okay.
And so we will let Connor go first since we knew about him originally.
All right. And so we'll call up Connor, and I'll give you 5 minutes, Connor.
Just one moment. All right. He should be able to. I think. He should be able to unmute and turn on his camera if he so chooses.
Hello, Connor. See, he has a hand up. That's not Connor.
Jordan, Jordan, is there a higher level status we can give him?
Yeah, I can make him a presenter.
Okay.
All right, he should be good now.
There we go. That seems to have done the trick. Thank you,
Thanks,
Chair
Tony.
Hayward and staff for helping me figure that out. I know I've spoken earlier, so I'll try to keep it brief. I just have a short punch list of things I wanted to talk about. First, I wanted to talk about penalty sizes. As I think even Director Lavallee acknowledged back at the March strategic planning meeting, the level of penalties called for in the agency's current schedule for late C4 reporting are viewed by many campaigns and candidates as simply the cost of doing business. Back in, I believe, May, the agency placed the issue of looking at the penalty schedule on its 6-month rulemaking agenda, but nothing has happened between then and now. Probably it's not realistic to place that issue on the October agenda, but I would encourage you all to discuss it after the election is over. Second, I wanted to talk about just how the penalty schedule applies to these violations. When a candidate fails to file a 21-day C4, a 7-day C4, a post-election C4, that's 3 separate violations. And it's not really appropriate in my mind to lump all these violations together and treat it as a single violation and give respondents effectively 3 for the price of 1. I was glad to see that it seems like that's changing based on what you did today, Chair Hayward. So thank you for that. For past election cycles, merging them all into one violation might not have been such a bad way to do it. But this election cycle is different. In one of these cases, the staff said the respondent got 8 separate reminders before and after the deadlines that these reports were missing, and the respondent still didn't take corrective action. Third, I wanted to discuss the agency's collection of penalties that goes unpaid by respondents. I went and listened again at the end of the July meeting, and I think it was Commissioner Oswald that said that something like less than 1% of the penalties that go into collections are actually paid. And if that's true, there's something seriously wrong that needs to be corrected there. And I don't claim to have the answers, but if the agency is imposing a bunch of penalties and can't actually collect those penalties, something needs to be done, and that should be made a priority. And then just to wrap up, we heard a little bit of discussion there at the very end about the process that staff has created to give people an out to withdraw from having to file with the PDC. My concern with that process is that was a process that, as far as I can tell, was never actually discussed by the commission. It exists outside of the Administrative Procedures Act. It exists out of the Fair Campaign Practices Act, which says that if you're on the ballot, you're a candidate, you have to file those reports. And so maybe there is something the agency can do administratively, but that was something that really ought to have been discussed with the commissioners and discussed with the regulated community more widely. And so you very well should expect me to see something from me challenging that process, or at least arguing that it should be part of a rule duly adopted by the agency pursuant to the Administrative Procedures Act. And finally, I'll just beg you, sort of consistent with what I said at the, an hour or two ago, if there's any way you guys can work together to at least formulate like an initial proposal for making C4 periods mandatory, I think that would be really beneficial for the PDC. I think it would be really beneficial for us as filers if we could get something on that done. And it very well might not happen in the 2025 session. I know that, but putting something forward would be of tremendous benefit to everyone. And I personally think that if it was crafted right, it would have a very good chance of passing. And if there's anything I can do to help, please let me know. I want to support however I can. Obviously, I'm just one person, but, so at any rate, that's all I've got. And so thank you for your service, and thank you for putting so much time today for all the stuff you guys have been working on. Thank you.
Thank you. And Connor, just so you know, I don't usually comment, but if you come up with a way of getting better collections, let us know. We talk about it all the time.
Well, fair enough. And I'm not an expert, but maybe I'll look at it and see. But I'm pretty ignorant on the area myself. So
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Next, please. The next commenter.
All right. I made Robert Parker he should be able to unmute himself now.
Oh, Mr. Parker.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Sure.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'm glad you allowed me to speak.
Okay.
First, I'd like to recognize Tabitha. I have called the PDC a lot of times, and I usually, for some reason, I get Tabitha on the phone, and she's been extremely helpful. And I want the commission to know that, I'm not all negative, and I recognize what Tabitha has done for me for, going on about 2.5 years. So yeah, that's the first thing I'd like to say. Second was that I see that after almost a year, the commission has finally issued a warning letter to Mr. Clausen. So he was able to hide his funding. That was candidate John Clausen. Do a mailer, get out of the election, get through going into the next election cycle, which he didn't file up, which he was a sitting councilman at that particular person and a 20-year candidate. And so we created a process of how a candidate can hide all of his stuff and get all the way through the election and not report in at all, which is frustrating. And then when I brought it to the commission's attention for 4 solid months prior to this meeting, nothing happened until September 19th. And I'm a little disappointed that nothing happened. It's a 20-year sitting councilman that the PDC commission did not hold accountable at all. They just said, tisk, tisk, go away. And that was after you had 2 separate complaints for 2 separate issues. So I'm wondering, what is the goal here? To get compliance or just to move a bunch of paper around? We talked about commission or about the fines. If the commission has a hard time collecting fines, please reach out to me. I'm a 32-year business and I've only lost $1,100 in 32 years. I can teach you how to collect. And I run $1 million a year in sales, and I've lost $1,100 in 32 years. By all means, I'm all open to giving you suggestions of how to collect your debts, because we need to pay for the staff. We need to pay for the infrastructure that we're buying, not just get money from the state to fund us, but to actually put back into that well. And I'd be more than happy to help. Thank you. And that's my comment.
Thank you. And I do want to just mention that we don't actually rely upon these collections to pay the staff directly. It's not one of the ones we go out and collect the money to pay the staff and our expenses.
No, I understand that. It would go back into the general.
Your point's well
fund.
taken ultimately. And thank you very much. I appreciate
Yes,
it.
it comes around in a big circle. I
Yeah,
understand
big
that.
circle. Okay.
I understand
you.
that completely. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any further business come before us at this meeting? Okay, Jordan?
That is the end of our agenda.
Okay, is there anything that Kim wants to bring up or anyone else?
Nope. Thank you both.
All right. Anything from you, Jay?
Nothing more for me. I'm ready to go home.
Okay, I'll bet. Are you already home?
I am.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Anyway, very good. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all.
Thanks. Bye-bye.